Chapter 44 to 45. Hiruzan Sarutobi was still the same, smoking his pipe, dressed in his red and white Hokage robe, and exuding a friendly demeanor. Nobuhiko Hase, Raizo Shinozaki, Miho Uchiha, Yuto Hyuga, Kakashi Hatake. He softly recited the names of the 5 elite shinobi about to be promoted. 3 from prominent clans, 2 from civilian backgrounds, with representation from both the Uchiha and Hyuga clans. This Jonin promotion assessment offered a glimpse into Konoha's delicate balance. The 5 stood respectfully. Over the years, Hiruzan Sarutobi had established significant authority in Konoha, with a mix of kindness and firmness. Even the proud Uchiha wouldn't openly defy him. "You are the true elites of the village," Hiruzan paused, then solemnly continued. "A tree has roots, a trunk, branches, and leaves. Each part is indispensable. To let this tree thrive and pass on the will of fire, someone must stand up to shield it from storms. I am glad Konoha is about to gain 5 more sharp blades." A Chunin and a Jonin are entirely different beings. The former merely leads a squad, while the latter can decide the lives of dozens or even hundreds. Often, the outcome of a battle or even a campaign hinges on a Jonin's decision. "So, what do you think is most important for a Jonin?" Hiruzan posed a question. "Strength," came a female voice. The responder was Miho Uchiha. She had the typical Uchiha appearance and personality, beautiful, black-haired, and emotionally rich. During this period, the Uchiha clan had not yet reached the brink of annihilation and exclusion. So many clan members still had relatively outgoing personalities. She glanced at the 4 others beside her and sniffed like a villainess. "A Jonin must have the ability to solve problems in any crisis, that is, to be strong." "Strength, huh?" Hiruzan clapped his hands. "An excellent answer. Yes, you and the 4 beside you are all exceptionally talented fighters. Any other answers?" "Complete the mission," Kakashi Hatake said calmly, with drooping eyelids. "No matter the sacrifice or the cost, a Jonin must complete the mission." The death of Sakumo had hit him hard, Hiruzan thought, sighing inwardly but showing approval without favoritism. The remaining 2 shinobi also expressed their understanding, though nothing extraordinary, but they were not wrong. Finally, it was Yuto's turn. He rubbed his forehead protector, hesitated for a moment, and then spoke with a gentle yet firm voice. "Lord Hokage, I believe that a qualified Jonin is someone who has earned everyone's recognition and respect." "Earning everyone's recognition and respect?" Hiruzan was moved. Just like in the conversation 6 months ago in his office, this young Hyuga branch family member's response showed an extraordinary sense of the bigger picture and inclusiveness. But Yuto, earning everyone's recognition and respect, is an incredibly difficult task, much harder than even mastering an S-rank jutsu. "Lord Hokage, when walking the path of dreams, how can one speak of difficulty?" As Yuto said this, he saw that Tsunade behind Hiruzan had already smiled, her eyes sparkling, pleased and proud of his answer. Hiruzan took a drag from his pipe, suppressing his complex emotions, and continued, "All of your answers are good and correct. A Jonin is the village's most elite shinobi. Leadership, psychological resilience, and combat ability must surpass those of an average Chunin. You have all proven your combat skills and problem-solving abilities through numerous missions in recent years. In my view, you all deserve to become Jonin. But to become Jonin, you must pass a test. This is a rule set by the first Hokage. A one-on-one duel does not fully reflect your capabilities. Therefore, I have selected 5 A-rank missions. Each of you will take one, complete it, and return here, and you will be Jonin of Konoha. Remember, you must complete the mission and return within 5 days. Even 1 second late, and you will be disqualified." "Tsunade!" Hiruzan stepped back, and Tsunade came forward. She took out 5 scrolls and placed them on the ground. Choose one each. Once opened, it cannot be changed. Miho Uchiha was the first to step forward. After picking a scroll, she bowed to Hiruzan and left the room without a glance. The others chose in turn, while Yuto waited for the others to pick first, displaying the so-called cautious courtesy. As the student of the chief examiner, Tsunade, he didn't want to be the first to choose and risk suspicion of favoritism or secret arrangements. When only the last scroll remained, Yuto took it. He opened it in front of Hiruzan and Tsunade, glanced at it, and then respectfully said, "Lord Hokage, my mission is number 4. You surely know the details. Before I depart, may I ask to what extent should I act? Should I control the intensity?" Hiruzan calmly replied, "Don't worry about any diplomatic issues. If something happens, Konoha will back you up. Go all out." Yuto almost smelled blood in the air. At just over 50 years old, Hiruzan was still at the tail end of his peak. His inner hardness and ruthlessness far exceeded his demeanor at the start of the series, many years later. Yuto bowed, not delaying any further, and swiftly left the underground. This was a time-limited mission. Every second counted. "Yes, these were drafted last night by me and Danzo," Hiruzan sighed. "Tsunade, though Danzo is somewhat sinister and I know you always disliked him, sometimes he does make sense. In war, you cannot simply hide in your shell and wait for the enemy to attack." That Yuto quickly returned to the Senju compound. He often stayed there now, even moving many of his daily items and tools next to Tsunade's place, using the ample excuse of training and serving his teacher. The Hyuga main family couldn't find any fault with it. Given the 5-day limit for the mission, he didn't bring spare clothes, only taking his tools and some money before leaving the village, running eastward. Mission 4. According to top-secret intelligence, a team of elite shinobi from Kirigakure is heading towards the Land of Fire, led by one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Whatever their purpose, prevent them from approaching the Land of Fire. "Please have a seat, gentlemen. You see, these are all homemade pickles. Just give me whatever." The man wearing a straw hat tossed a money pouch at him. The waiter caught it and immediately beamed with joy. "All right. Gentlemen, your food will be ready soon." Noticing that these men with straw hats didn't want to engage with him, the waiter wisely left, giving them enough space. After the waiter left, the group began to chat sporadically. "This place is quite like our village. It's always so foggy. The Land of Waves is an island nation, after all. It's very humid. Once we pass through the Land of Waves, we need to be careful. Although our secret base on the Fire Nation's shore is well hidden, we must not underestimate those guys from Konoha. They have Byakugan and Sharingan." Knock, knock. The sudden knocking on the table halted their idle chat. The man sitting in the center took off his straw hat, revealing his face. "As shinobi, we should act covertly. Although shinobi are rare in the Land of Waves, we still need to be cautious. You should put the hat back on." The subordinates thought silently but did not dare to retort openly. They could only lower their heads and apologize. "Sorry, Jinpachi-sama." Jinpachi nodded slightly, closing his eyes to rest. He was of average height, wearing a white headscarf with his beard tied into small braids. His lips were thick, and his left eye was covered with a black cloth, making him look quite eccentric. However, in the world of shinobi, strange outfits were not uncommon, so he did not attract much attention. More striking than his appearance and attire was the large sword on his back. Whether it could be called a sword was debatable. It had no sharp edge and was as wide as a door. The sword's back was cylindrical, and its blade was covered, hiding its contents. Anyone from Kirigakure would recognize this door-like blade, adorned with explosive tags. The man carrying this sword was also very famous. Jinpachi Munashi, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist, the wielder of the explosive blade, Shibuki. Revealing his true identity was a helpless act for Jinpachi. The explosive blade, Shibuki, was highly recognizable. Any shinobi could identify him with a glance, so wearing a hat wouldn't conceal his identity. As for sealing the explosive blade in a scroll, few among the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, including Jinpachi, would do that. They lived by their swords and earned their fame through them. If they couldn't grip their swords instantly, it would be an insult to the name 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. With Jinpachi's warning, his subordinates became much more restrained, communicating silently with their eyes as they waited for their food. "Please, come in, sir. Have a seat inside." However, instead of their meal, another customer arrived. Draped in a raincoat, with his head bowed, a lone figure entered from the door and went straight to the table beside the Kirigakure shinobi. With his back to them, his face was obscured, but it was clear he was a long-haired man. "These are all homemade pickles." The lone customer interrupted the waiter's spiel with a money pouch, speaking softly. "Bring me a pot of good tea." "All right." The waiter ran out excitedly, thinking that today's guests were particularly generous. While the waiter was thrilled, the Kirigakure shinobi were not as relaxed. The shinobi accompanying Jinpachi were experienced chunin from the turbulent Kirigakure. Their battle experience was richer than that of shinobi from other villages. They immediately recognized the subtle danger in the lone customer's position. The distance between the newcomer and Jinpachi was a delicate 5 meters, just out of reach of Jinpachi's explosive blade, Shibuki, with a single step and swing. Distance is the most critical factor for close combat shinobi. "He's an expert." The Kirigakure shinobi quietly grasped their kunai, looking towards Jinpachi. The renowned swordsman of the mist did not panic, simply staring at the newcomer, articulating each word. "Konoha?" "Yes." A straightforward question, a straightforward answer. Not hiding one's identity might be fine in peaceful times, but in this chaotic era, such honesty implied irreconcilability. "A fine sword. That's the explosive blade, Shibuki, right? So you must be Jinpachi, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist." "Indeed. And you are—" Jinpachi didn't finish his sentence as the newcomer turned around, revealing a handsome, gentle face and eyes as pure as white paper. "Yuto, just a nobody. Tsunede's disciple, huh? This is troublesome." Jinpachi sighed inwardly. It had been half a year since Yuto became Tsunade's disciple, something the Kirigakure intelligence network couldn't ignore. "So, Jinpachi, why are you in the land of waves?" Yuto asked, his expression not unpleasant. He even seemed to have a sunny disposition. "Traveling, training, sightseeing." Jinpachi grinned, baring his sharp teeth. "I can do whatever I want. But what does it have to do with you? This isn't the land of fire." "Yes, this is the land of waves, I know." Yuto chuckled. "Finding you was quite a task, even for someone with Byakugan like me." "Oh? So?" Jinpachi gripped his sword hilt tightly. His honed swordsmanship gave him the confidence to close the distance and deliver a deadly blow in a fraction of a second. Yuto seemed unperturbed, still smiling. "To be honest, my mission is to stop you from entering the land of fire." "I'm a very sociable person," Yuto pointed to his face. "My persuasion skills are decent and I'm quite perceptive. I'm thinking, if I could convince you to return to the land of water, that would be wonderful. No fighting involved. But you know, both Konoha and Kirigakure's top brass are cautious and intelligent. If I returned and said you were persuaded to leave without evidence, the higher-ups wouldn't believe me. So, could you help me out by giving me your explosive blade, Shibuki? With that, the higher-ups would believe me. Of course. If you refuse, that's fine too. After all, it's a treasure of Kirigakure, and I don't like forcing people. But..." Yuto paused, his tone becoming gentle as if speaking to a lover. "I'll bring back your heads and the sword." In the tavern by the lake, an eerie silence prevailed. After a long pause, Jinpachi suddenly burst into wild laughter, his voice growing louder and louder. "You're arrogant, brat!" A massive explosion erupted, shooting into the sky.